out of the ordinary insights. Brought to you by Investec Specialist Bank.
You're watching Captains of Industry here on CNBC Africa. I'm speaking to Mr. Raman Dhawan, the Managing Director of Tata Africa Holdings. Let's go into the biggest opportunities you see from a Tata Africa Holdings perspective right now. You look at your different verticals, there are many. You've got hospitality, telecommunications, power, steel. What are you most excited about?
Well, before I tell you what opportunities we see, I'll just take you a little back. We could only look at South Africa after 1994. As you know, that India was supporting the struggle in South Africa, and so we were not even allowed to enter at that point of time. And so it's only after 1994 that we were allowed to enter South Africa. And obviously, this is the largest economy in Africa, and so there were many areas that one could explore, but it was extremely difficult to really put a stake in the ground because everybody was ready to protect their turf. And so what we did is, one area which we've entered into is motor vehicles. And we've been quite gutsy in that we've got now an assembly plant in Roslyn for commercial vehicles. Then we put up a smelter in Richards Bay, which is for ferrochrome, and that brought in one of our large companies, Tata Steel. And then we also went in as the second fixed line operator. We've got Neotel working there. And then we've recently, looking at power projects, we formed a company called Synergy with Exaro. And that's something which will have a lot of opportunity. We've also got a hotel in Cape Town, although we have just one hotel. So it's a very diversified. We have also a very good footprint as far as our software company, Tata Consultancy, is concerned. So the Tata Group, what we've done is that South Africa has been really used as the fulcrum on which the group has entered South Africa, and the fulcrum to take it to other parts.
Do you believe that South Africa is still the gateway to Africa?
I would say that it is still, to a certain extent, although it has lost its initial advantage because other countries have moved on. One of the areas which we have been missing and we've been discussing about is agriculture. And I think our company is looking at that to see which companies can come into that. And
just pausing on the agricultural element, I spent some time now in Davos in Switzerland at the World Economic Forum, and food scarcity was an enormous theme. With the some 7 billion people globally that we're sitting with as a population right now, the stats are alarming. 1 billion people every single night go to bed hungry, and 2 million children die on an annual basis from malnutrition. This has to be one of the biggest conversations we need to have globally. Business leaders, public, private, need to engage to solve the situation.
Yes, absolutely. You see, you just look at this irony of everything, that on one side, Africa is bountiful with land, with water, and other resources which are required for agriculture. On the other hand, you see large imports of rice into Africa. So this is where Africa's got to come together and say, okay, these are the countries which can really produce rice.
Specifically Nigeria. It can become the breadbasket of West Africa.
And so why don't we come up collectively in Africa with policies saying, let's stop imports coming in of these food grains, and let us not. Why not put up a proper fertilizer plant? Today, every country in Africa you will go, they are importing fertilizer. They are growing their food, but the fertilizer is being imported. Why not put up 2-3 big fertilizer plants which can supply the rest of Africa? So this is something I think has to be done collectively at the top leadership to give that guidance, to say we are together, because we can share later on. Let's create the wealth. See, what we are today looking at is who's wealthier than the other, but we've got to create first the wealth before we can share it. So that's one area I think agriculture, Africa, if it gets its act right, can be the breadbasket, not only for Africa but for the world. You can create. The other thing which I feel is that the software industry, especially the IT industry, will be more and more required in Africa. This is what we are seeing. We have a very large IT company. There are a lot of Indian IT companies already operating in South Africa.
Because soft infrastructure, again,
Yes.
is one of those crucial needs.
Yes. So the government here, that's more specific today to South Africa, should look at that how it can leverage this and ask these IT companies to create development centers here, delivery centers from here, train up more and more people, and have something which will be able to give a lot of employment. Because today, even in the IT industry, a lot of jobs do go out because the consultants are coming from overseas. And so I'm not
So
saying
you're
this can happen.
upskill, it's crucial to upskill our own
Exactly.
workforces.
So the government should play really a good role in that, saying this is what the incentivize is. For example, one of our state governments, which was not having a delivery center, said, we told them that, look, we can't give you a delivery center because unless we get business from you. Because how do you train up people? You see, you need to have the jobs that only if you can create that kind of atmosphere where you have some work, you can train them on the job, and that's what IT is all about. And India has developed very well in that. We employ about almost 140,000 people in just our software company. So you can see what the potential of employment.
Certainly lessons to be learned from that enterprise. Just looking at the regional play again and the regionalization of the continent, what are you finding in terms of West Africa versus East Africa versus Central Africa versus Southern Africa? Is there a region that is really leading the charge in terms of that unity that you're looking for from those territories?
Yes, to some extent, I think East Africa has looked at that. They have tried to harmonize
with
some,
the East African community.
Yes, and but it has moved very slowly, you know. So, but at least it's a good start, you know, to look at that. So East Africa is doing well in our view. You know, we see a lot of infrastructure being built up in Kenya, Tanzania, to some extent Uganda as well. So that then, as far as opportunity and other things are concerned, West Africa is very big. We see Nigeria as a huge opportunity, it's a huge market, and all our companies which are there, we've got companies in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Senegal, in Ivory Coast, and all these companies are looking to grow. And there are different opportunities. It may be in mining, it may be in agriculture.
Surely in West Africa, Nigeria specifically, the consumer story is the biggest story at 170 million consumers.
Absolutely. And you know, all consumer-facing industries, I think, will grow. We seen it in the telecom and others. We are seeing it in transportation. Every year, you know, we were a late entrant into Nigeria, but we find it's possible to do business. It's going well, and we are almost, I would say, growing our turnover by at least 40 to 50% every year there.
I stand to be corrected, but I picked up a press release July 2012 saying that you have a presence in 12 countries on the African continent. Is that where you are at the moment?
Yeah, we have almost, as we speak, maybe now almost in 14 countries, and we are at that, and we are looking that in the next 5 to 7 years we should go upward of 20 countries, and that would cover, I think, a very large part of the GDP of Africa, which could be almost 2/3 of the GDP of Africa.
How are you feeling about the state of the world at the moment? Obviously, we've come through a tough environment with the developed world being in the doldrums, but it looks as though the data is starting to be a little more stable. Does it concern you, or are you so focused on the emerging market environment that what's happening in the developed environment doesn't actually concern you?
We've remained very positive, you know, about the whole thing, because we feel these are phases which come. We've learned a lot from the phase. This was a difficult phase, believe me, for everybody, especially the Tata Group. Tata Group's turnover as of last year grew to $100 billion, and we are out of that, I think about almost 60% came from overseas, not from India. So and yet we are saying that we are going to multiply this many times over in the next decade or so. So we had to be positive when the crisis came, and I think our group support and our chairman who has just stepped down, Mr. Ratan Tata, has always been very positive about Africa. When he came first to South Africa, he said that we must invest, and that's what we've done. So I think that positivity in the group has remained with all the companies, and I think we see that as an opportunity, and we're not really bothered about the many crises which come.
With your presence, as you say, in now almost 14 countries, how do you personally, let's focus now on your leadership style. How do you manage this group, which has now got geographical diversity and sectoral diversity across the African continent?
Well, difficult question, but I'll answer it in a way that I personally feel that no one individual can really make any venture successful. And that's something which I have learned, over the period of time. And so what we've done really is to create a team. And to succeed in Africa, you need a great team, because Africa is not easy in some ways to. So what we've done, I think that's our single most success story, that we've created teams in all these 14 countries and created a footprint, and that is something which even South African companies have failed in some ways to do it. And so basically that has been one. The support from the group, as I said, the group chairman had supported us wholeheartedly, and that helps quite a bit.
And bringing the emerging market experience to bear.
Absolutely. And lastly, I would say we've been bold. We have not taken a timid approach, and we've said we are here for the long haul. It's a long-term investment. We're going to stay in Africa all the time. And so we're really, truly building an African company, which is spread all over Africa, and which will be called, it'll become a household name. We've created a Tata brand in that way. So that's what we've been doing.
Mr. Dhawan, you say you've had to be bold. Sometimes you must have been faced with decisions that were difficult. How have you gotten over second guessing yourself? Did you just go and say, right, I'm going this path, I'm going to make the Africa story work? How have you overcome, or did you, engage with your management team in India to get over potential obstacles that you faced?
Yes, to some extent we did take help from the team in India, but I think the team here was most important. So my country heads have been very important for me all the time, and I have supported them. Their job was to make the company grow. My job was to support them in whatever way I could. So I think it has worked. We have been faced with challenges. Even as I speak to you, we have challenges in large projects. But this is bound to happen. Governments don't think alike. They don't think the way the investor would think, and sometimes they have some compulsions. And so we've not been challenging them. We've been going and explaining our position. And I think they have always looked at us as a welcome investor, somebody who wants to come and who's looking to be there. So that has, I think, helped us in Africa, and that's the approach one should take always.
And then just a final question, what do you want your legacy to be?
I would like, I would say we've only laid a foundation, at least to some extent, as far as my contribution has been concerned, along with my other colleagues. I would like this to grow many, many times. All the group companies have participate in more and more ventures, and so that's what I would like to look at in the future. And so my legacy is basically that I would like to have a very successful African company.
Mr. Dhawan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. I've been speaking to Mr. Raman Dhawan, the Managing Director of Tata Africa Holdings. You've been watching Captains of Industry here on CNBC Africa.